This is ethical hacking and network defense. It's called that because in the original term, hacking was a term used for anybody that was good enough with technology to make it do something it was not designed to do. The original hackers were the MIT Model Railroad Club, and they built railroads out of telephone parts. And then there was a crime defined as hacking. So hacking gained a very negative connotation, and the purists got mad because they said the bad stuff is cracking and hacking is the good stuff. And so the term ethical hacking came out because until about 7 years ago, it was considered immoral to teach people how to break into computers. And therefore, we had defenders defending our computers that had never practiced attack, and that works about as well as having the military that had never practiced attack. They couldn't defend anything, because that's how you learn to fight. You've got to learn how to attack and how to defend. Attacking is much easier. That's why you start with attack. That's why, 12-year-olds in Pakistan are hacking into everything, the NSA and everything. Defending is really, really hard. Because if you have an organization, you're defending it, you have to be able to swear there's not one stupid mistake on here. There's not one person dumb enough to click on an email attachment, one device that has an old version of something that's not updated. And that's really, really hard. No matter how much work you put into it, there's going to be a hole somewhere, and bad guys can get in there. So attack is easy and defense is hard, so we start with attack. Anyway, so you're going to learn how to attack computer systems, break through Windows passwords into Linux systems, create malware, and do all the bad stuff bad guys do. The only difference between ethical hackers and the other kind is that ethical hackers do it legally, and that means you have the permission of the target. So you're doing it on your own test systems, or you're doing it to test a company that has agreed to let you do a security test. And along with that, you have responsibility that the bad guys don't have. For example, if you're doing a penetration test against a company, and you might break in and find their secrets, their credit card numbers, account numbers, customer addresses, and you agree not to publish that stuff, but to keep it quiet. Because you're not a bad guy, you're not stealing the credit cards, and that's part of the deal. So the fundamental issue here is you have to show some maturity like a police officer. And you have to be held to a higher ethical standard than average people, because you're going to have the power to do things that defeat security boundaries. Like tonight I brought a bunch of locks, and we'll do lock picking. You learn how to pick locks. After that, you discover one of the many dirty little secrets, which is that American locks are worthless. When you lock the door and you come back and you say, there, I think nobody's gone in there, that just means nobody even tried. I found this out 10 years ago when I read Richard Feynman's autobiography, and he just describes with no pictures how to pick a lock, and I just met a couple pins and tried it and did it in like 20 minutes. It's the only reason you can't pick a lock is because you never tried. These locks that we use in America were designed in 1840 and never improved, because they made it illegal to pick locks to stop us from finding out how bad they were, and they've succeeded in creating this myth for 150 years that these locks actually stop anybody, and they don't stop anybody that makes the slightest attempt to get in. So you can't sell these locks in Germany because nobody in Germany is stupid enough to use them, but Americans are. So this is part of this, and you'll find this is true of almost every computer device too. Everything you use does something incredibly stupid that makes it trivial for bad guys to get in, and that's why teenagers are hacking into each other's Facebook accounts, and it's going on everywhere because just people leave a door just hanging open in almost everything. And that's why we need more security professionals that can help advise people how to make reasonably secure products. So I've got a textbook. This textbook is quite popular with the students. It explains things in a pretty clear way. I don't use the homework in that book because I thought it wasn't interesting enough. I wrote my own. So here's the schedule. There's nothing due until September because there's no point making things due when we're still going through the ad process. Then I'll have the first quiz and the first few projects due. And you'll find all the slides and videos of all the lectures here as time passes. And you'll find all the homework here. All the homework involves doing things on computers and then emailing in screenshots. So, all right. And let me just talk about the grading. Yeah.
Do we email you directly?
No, you email, and it's at the end of each homework it's cnet.123@gmail. If you email it to me, that's a bad idea because I often get flooded with strange things, like I used to be a target of Anonymous and stuff, and so I never see it. This way it goes to my efficient grader, who doesn't lose it. Yeah?
I had the wrong recipe for your other class, and it's bound back, so...
Oh, okay, well let me see it. Maybe there's a problem with the email address. Okay. All right. Anyway, that's why you send yourself a copy. If somehow we don't get it, then you can turn in that copy later to prove that you really did it on time. All right. So here's the policy. Let me bring that up. All right. Good. All right. So everything you need, you don't really need any paper. I just hand out paper because it's considered it's a rule of the college that the first day you have to get a first day handout on paper, and that makes sense because somebody might be in here that doesn't even have a computer and isn't sure what they're getting into. But anyway, everything you need is here, samsclass.info. Everything's available on my website. You will need a name and password to get in the virtual machines, which I'm going to write here, but I'm not going to call it out loud because I'm recording this. To download the virtual machines, you need this information. This username and this password. All right, anyway. You do need 2 virtual machines. Some of you may already have them. We're using Kali Linux, which is the standard of Americans to do penetration testing. There are other ones that are popular in Europe and elsewhere, but Kali's the standard in America, and it's perfectly fine. It's a Linux distribution that has all the attack tools that you need already installed. And then we have a Windows, and I just took whatever Windows was handy. I took a Windows Server 2008 because you can use it without a product activation key. It just complains a lot. Every time you start it, it will make you wait like 10 seconds saying you should get a product key, and then it shuts up and you can use it. So we can use it as a Windows target. Yeah?
Do we need specifically Windows servers, or can we use like Windows 8.1?
You can use any version of Windows, and for that matter, you can use any version of Linux. So I've had some students that do a whole class like natively on the Mac. And if you do something, and some people have like Arch Linux and they do everything on that, and if you're elite enough to do that, that's better. It may result though in my grader getting confused. So if you turn in a screenshot that is actually correct but looks so different from what we expect that you get it wrong, just let me know. If you do something brilliant, which confuses us, you should get your points. By the way, if you hack me, you get extra credit. And quite a few people have done it. They've even done the things I thought you couldn't do. They're down here. AxiomX, very, very powerful student who worked in security at Google. He took over many of my servers, and he took over my home server, the one that's hosting this stuff, which is not supposed to be vulnerable. He rooted it just a few months ago, which was pretty awesome. And by the way, this guy did something pretty awesome. This guy got in my Twitter account 3 times, my email account 4 times, and what he did, he snuck up behind me in the lab and with his phone and recorded me typing in my password, which is a really scary attack, and I do not know how to defend myself against it really. And he was even so smooth, in a lecture like this, I'd step over here and he'd walk up and put a tweet on my account and walk away, and nobody said a word. Because if you act smooth, nobody even sees you. You know, we had a class where it was a Windows product launch, and we had like 5 classes there, like 400 people in this huge auditorium, and the speaker speaking down here, and some student put his laptop here to charge it and sat down there, and when he got up, as everyone left, it was gone. Somebody in the middle of 400 people walked right up, grabbed his laptop, went out the door. Nobody saw a thing. Because it's all in how smooth you are. If you just act, I'm just picking up my laptop, nothing to see here, nobody will pay attention. It'll fall into the background noise. Whereas if you act nervous, then everybody will see you. Anyway, I can do that, but only when I'm deluded. I can't fake it. Anyway, but I went to a college one time as a visiting lecturer, and I was in a hurry. I was kind of late, so there's a receptionist, and I just didn't even talk to her. I walked right past, and she said, "Well, you obviously know where you're going." And I had no idea where I was going, but I did want to talk to her, so I just kept going. And anyway, so there's a bunch of quizzes and projects in the final exam, and if you get 90%, you get an A, and 80% is a B, and so on. They're all worth points. It's all by the numbers. If you miss a quiz for some reason, like you have to stay late at work or something, then let me know, and we'll put an asterisk there and fill in that quiz from your score on the final exam. And if there's a bunch of extra credit projects, there's really a lot of them, far more than makes really any sense, but they sort of pile up on me. These are the required ones. Here's a whole bunch of extra credit ones. And if you think of anything great to do that's not already here, you can do anything you want, anything cool. Bring in some gadget you built or something we don't know about, and you have a presentation about it, that's worth points. So if you do a lot of these extra credit, you cannot even take the final and still get an A, which is fine with me because then you learn to do something. Anyway, all right. By the way, if you go to out-of-class training events, like meetups and Pacific IT Pros and all that jazz, that's all worth extra credit too, let me know about it. Because there's in no way is the stuff you're learning here from this textbook more important than the stuff you'd learn by going to like a Java meetup or a hacking workshop or something. There's all this good stuff to learn, and there's no particular reason to learn just a particular part of it that happened to be in the book. Anyway, so there's a lot of projects to do. You got to turn in full screen images to get full points. That makes it easier for us to catch the cheaters, which I do get now and then. If you do cheat, I'll probably just throw you out, Because like I say, you're learning dangerous stuff here. You can totally go to prison with this. If you are so stupid you don't even have enough sense not to cheat in college, then I really don't want to teach you to pick locks and bypass passwords and take over domain controllers and all that jazz. You apparently have got a screw loose and you need to go do something simpler for life until you grow up. So anyway, anything else? Yeah, oh, by the way, if you work on campus in the hacking lab, it is a free fire zone in there. There's all sorts of nasty things going on. Don't log into your personal accounts in there. Don't use your credit card in there. What I recommend is make another email account with a password you don't care about and turn in your homework using that account, because that's a free fire zone. In fact, a couple semesters ago, my advanced hackers wrote a Python keylogger and they put it on all machines and they got about 40 passwords and we put them on the board, a wall of sheep. And by the way, a lot of them are teachers, because I kept telling teachers, don't go in here, and they were going in there. And after that, they quit going in there. They said, it'll be okay if I check my email. I said, no, it won't. It really won't be okay, but they don't believe me. And this semester, my most dangerous students of all are in there, the forensic examiners. The forensic examiners can totally get everything off that machine. So anyway, be aware. Well, it also means, by the way, that if you work halfway through a project and leave, when you come back next week, somebody might have wiped everything out. They might have erased the whole drive and put Linux on there or something. So if that happens, don't freak out. Just let me know if it's going to make you late on something. I can give you a deadline extension. It doesn't happen too often, but at least once every semester, somebody in a fit of confusion wipes out several machines in there. Yeah?
What is free password zone? You said free password zone?
Password what?
No, free what zone?
Free fire zone.
Oh yeah, I call it a free fire zone because it's like the DEF CON. It's okay to hack people in there. It's encouraged. So this is what DEF CON is. At DEF CON, you can practice all your attacks, and everybody is warned, don't even use this network unless you're agreeing to be a target for everybody's attacks. So people do things like put a backpack full. One time, a guy put a bunch of wireless stuff in his backpack, and he walked through the open area, and he would intercept everyone's wireless connections and change all the pictures to horrible pornography. So people are freaking out and slamming their laptops and everything else. They'll just do anything you want to do, it happens there. And that makes it educational. They hacked me at DEF CON, they got in my Gmail account, they put me on the wall sheet, and that was awesome. I learned how it worked. At that time, about 4 years ago, Gmail was not 100% encrypted. They would encrypt the password, and then they would send a cookie in plain text. So you could just steal the cookie and replay it and get in anybody's account. I spent the next year showing everybody how to get in everybody's Gmail account. It was awesome. But you don't take a laptop there with anything important on it. And I met a woman at the wall of sheet because I do hands-on training at DEF CON. And a woman came in and said, my boss told us that we all had to bring these company laptops in case he wants us to work while we're here. And I said, your boss does not understand DEF CON. That is not the right advice at all. So I said, don't do that. Borrow one of our loaners here to do this project. And oh my God. Anyway, I think that's about it. There's a student agreement. Please sign that thing and bring it up when we take a break, which will be about half an hour. Does anybody have any questions about anything? If you came to add, there's room. Anybody that fits in the room can get in. I'll put up the ad codes later. Anyway, about when we take a break. So let me just start. There's two brief lecture type things, and then we'll do lockpicking, which is an extra credit project, but it's fun, and I figure so many people in the class, maybe it'd be good to do some of it here so they aren't all trying to get in the lab later to do it. Anyway, so the first thing, which I think is probably a wise thing, is to talk about the education you can get here at the college. Because we do an awful lot of things here, and it's getting to where you kind of need a guidepost for it. We are trying to get approval for this to be a bachelor's and master's program, because it really ought to be, because we have a lot more security classes than almost any comparable college. In fact, last semester I had the head from Blue Box Security came to visit us, Adam Eli, and he said he turned down an offer to go to MIT because he'd rather come here because the students were learning more relevant skills to employ them. Here's what we've got. And it's not listening to me. Listen to me, I say. Click on that. On that, hit the button, and it still ignores me. Fine. All right, we're going to do it this way then, since this software is not obeying me. There's always something. There we are. All right. So you can get an AA degree, a 2-year degree with an option in network security. And you can get a certificate of accomplishment in cybersecurity, and I think there's even one in advanced cybersecurity. This may still be passing somewhere through the painfully slow approval process around here. But there's network security is usually where you start. There's the CompTIA certificates, A+, Net+, and Security+, which are the basic language that everybody needs. They're the core, we call it around here. And this is it, Network Plus. This is a good thing to know where you understand all the terms and the basic concepts of how network security works. It's not an attack class, it's just a concept class. Then comes DNS Security is another thing that comes by every few semesters, which is a small specialty thing to learn, but it's quite important because an enormous amount of people are taking over DNS servers and there's DNS attacks. And the products that are used to handle DNS are surprisingly, shockingly bad, especially the Microsoft ones. See, Microsoft, you'll hear a lot of dirt against Microsoft in here, although believe me, it's better than it used to be. But until 2002, Microsoft had an official policy that security is a waste of time. There aren't any real hackers. The important thing is people want more features and they want it to be easy to use. So don't worry about attackers, just make it so that using your product is easy and it'll be fine. And by 2002, everybody's machine had dancing alligators and porn popping up on it, and you couldn't even close the windows. And everybody was so fed up they were canceling their internet service. And Bill Gates said, you know, this is getting out of hand. And he issued the Trustworthy Computing Memo. And he said, we are going to revise our policy. From now on, security first. And they stopped development on Vista. And they spent a whole year retraining all their programming staff, and they rewrote XP Service Pack 2 and gave it away for free, and this was the giant leap forward in Microsoft security. And they said, anybody that uses anything before XP Service Pack 2, God have mercy on you, we wash our hands of you. Our programmers didn't even know what a buffer overflow was at that time. There are so many problems in those products, we will never find them all. There's never going to be enough patches. Just forget it. And every version has gotten stronger and stronger and stronger since then. So Microsoft reformed, but they have a lot of legacy software, and their DNS software is left over from the bad old days, and it is appalling. Not only does it not protect your data, it in fact corrupts the whole internet. It's amazing. We do the black hole servers. There's a whole network of servers just to collect and discard the garbage traffic that Microsoft DNS servers pollute the internet with. They're so bad, anyway, it's amazing how bad they are. Anyway, so that's DNS security. Computer forensics, I mentioned, as the most dangerous class I teach. This is what's used by law enforcement officers to find evidence on machines. It's also used when you get sued. A company says you must give us all the evidence about this, like Oracle now is about ready to sue Google for the third time over their use of Java in Android. And every time they do that, they get a discovery order saying you have to give us all the emails, product designs, chats, everything about your plan to use Java so we can see it. And just finding all that stuff on a computer network is not easy, and it's a computer forensic job. Also, probably the biggest field of computer forensic, or the new and upcoming one, is incident response. When you get hacked, how do you figure out what happened? How much stuff did they get? How do we kick them out? And that's also a computer forensic job. So firewalls, another class you can take here, talking about how these firewalls are set up. Unfortunately, I think this class is still teaching the old generation of firewalls, which is why I quit doing it. We need to teach Palo Alto certification, in my opinion, but that's not what's happening yet. Then we got two hacking classes. This one, 123, is where you learn how to use hacking tools that are already there. They're already pretty much in Kali Linux. That's enough for a whole class. 124 is where you learn how to write your own hacking tools in simpler ones, in Python typically. And those two approximately add up to the Certified Ethical Hacker, although not very closely, because the Certified Ethical Hacker certification is not really worth much as a goal. It doesn't have much of a good reputation in the industry. The only reason it lives at all is because the US military really likes it. But the real pen testers have no respect for it. And so we got lots of other materials out there. And that's the CEH. And there's lockpicking, more about this later, but yeah.
So if you want to take this course, is there any order that you recommend?
There really isn't much. This is not like calculus, where you learn Calc 1 and you actually need it to do Calc 2. This is more like you just go in a field and there's a bunch of fruit trees and you go grab some off of this one and some off of that one. You pretty much need to know 120 first. But after that, you could pretty much take them in any order.
And do you teach 120?
Not anymore, I used to. But Richard Wu teaches it and he's very good, W. So anyway, so.
Quick question.
Yeah.
124 taught like every spring.
The advanced ones come by about every 3 semesters. They're on a rotation. There's not enough population for them otherwise. So each semester there's a couple of advanced ones. So 125 is the CISSP. This is the certification to get. I know a guy that has 25 industry certifications, and this on his business card it says CISSP because it's the only thing anyone cares about. This is the equivalent of a bar approval for a lawyer or a a license to practice medicine for a doctor, although it's not yet legally required. In practice, this is what people want their security professionals to have, and it frustrates pen testers because this is a non-technical certification. You do not learn how to do anything. You learn how management works. And you learn all the language, both all the technical language and all the management language. And that is what this field really needs, because the cliche of this field is you have these brilliant hacker types who are misanthropes, who hack all day on the machine, and the boss can never understand a word they said. All I know is this guy is super important, I can't fire him, but he can't even tell me what he's doing. And he's always mad about something, and I can't even understand what he says. All he does is tell me I'm too stupid, and I wish I could replace him with someone I could talk to, but I can't hire anybody with these technical skills who isn't completely screwed up. And we're fixing that with classes like this, where we hope to have people who have technical skills, and they can also wear a suit and be polite and take orders and talk to the boss. It is illogical to be angry at your boss for not being technically proficient. That's why you were hired, because your boss couldn't do it. It's not your job's bosses to be technically proficient. And as I got old enough to be in management myself, I finally got over just hating all authority figures and realized being the boss is a real job. It's not technical, but they have to steer the ship. They have to decide which way to go. And the purpose of technical people is to figure out all this complicated gobbledygook and boil it down to actionable business intelligence. We have a problem. Here's how much it's going to cost us. Here's what I propose to fix it. Here's how much that's going to cost and how long it's going to take. And if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen. That's what they want to hear. And I learned this. If you look at Microsoft security advisories, they're wonderful. They have something called an executive summary at the start, which is no code, no numbers, nothing complicated. Just here's how big the problem is. Here's how you fix it. Here's what's going to happen if you don't fix it in English. That is really good. You need to learn to do that. I go to so many conferences, and brilliant people I've talked to, and I can't understand a word because they don't bother to have a slide that says, what have you done and why should I care, in English. You got to say that first, then you can delve into all this page full of Linux code. Yeah.
So I was going to say, is this class going to be offered sometime soon?
I did it last semester, so it'll probably be 2 more semesters before it comes back. Yeah. Yeah.
So it says, like if you have 5 years of experience, but I saw that was offered as part of like the advanced cybersecurity
Yes.
sequence here. So
Yeah, so if a lot of the students don't have the experience, so they cannot get a CISSP yet, but if you pass the test, you become what's called an associate of ISC squared, and you have 6 years to gain the experience. And by the way, a lot of students here do in fact have the experience, because if you've been like a security guard, that counts. So if you, there are like 8 domains, and all you have to have is full-time employment for 5 years in one of the domains, and if you have some CompTIA certs or a bachelor's degree, you get 1 year off. So it's not as out of reach as it might look. But anyway, that's super important. And by the way, the CISSP also comes with an ethics clause, just like medical and lawyer degrees. If you do bad things, you lose your CISSP for ethics violations. At least in theory. In practice, that system seems to accomplish nothing, but I don't think it accomplishes that much for doctors or lawyers either. But anyway, then there's Malware Analysis. This is the training course to get people started at Mandiant. Mandiant just sold to FireEye, but Mandiant is the expert company in incident response. If you get hacked and you're a big company and you find out, oh my God, somebody is stealing our credit card numbers, you call Mandiant and they come in like the people after an airplane crash that will send in a team of experts to piece together all the pieces and figure out what happened. They will do that to your network. They will figure out what happened, how bad is it, how do we fix it, which is way beyond the capacity of normal system administrators and such. And this class is the first step towards learning how to do that. Exploit development is learning how to write your own attacks, how to prove that things are dangerous by going from bugs that cause a program to crash to turn them into attacks to give you remote control of the program. This is a fairly well understood process now. In fact, it's so understood that about 2 months ago, Stanford developed an artificial intelligence that will do this entirely without a human involved. If you have a process on the internet that will quietly restart 8,000 times without notifying anybody, which is a big if, but anyway, but we do it by hand, and then you really, basically you learn how Windows really works here. And Windows is very, very, very appalling the more you learn about it. Windows is like the Frankenstein monster. They just purchase other companies and sew them on until you've got all these strange things that don't really go together, all sort of attached to each other. And if you probably noticed, there are 30 different ways to do anything, and that means there are 30 strange backdoors to come in. So it is just unbelievable. Anyway, then hacking mobile devices, this was a lot of fun. Did this and took it to DEF CON. This is taking over phones and tablets And the bottom line is iPhones are much, much, much safer than Android devices. Google, so used to be, you may not be in the business long enough to remember this, there used to be this statement you'd hear a lot, maybe 5 years ago, Linux is safer than Windows. Now that was true in like 2000. And it was more or less true in 2010. But it's not true anymore, and Google made a huge stride there because Google proved that if you make Linux crappy enough, it's just as bad as Windows. And that's what they did with Android. Windows has 100 million viruses, Android has 1 million viruses. iOS has like 100 viruses, or OS 10 has like 100 viruses. So anyway, it's but it's you got to learn all this stuff. Phones are everywhere. Android is #1. It's huge because it's cheaper, and it needs help to be secure. So it's good to know how that works. And this is new this semester, securing web applications, things like WordPress and Drupal, shopping carts, login systems online. We're going through this book, which is the standard, the Bible of this field. Our industry consultants have told us we must teach this class and we must use that book because this is what people really do to secure web apps, and this is what pen testers do to earn bug bounties, is use BURP and the techniques in this book to find the defects in websites. Yeah. What's that? Yeah, sure. There's room in all these classes. So just come to the next class, you can get any of them. Yeah. And 140, this one is new this semester also. It was taught by another teacher before. This is the first time I've done it. We're going to do the CCDC. This is the most important competition in the world of college competitions. And typically the people that win this get job offers immediately. This is live defense, where you give you a network and then people attack you and you have to defend it. It's not attack. And that is much better of a simulation of what you really have to do on a real job than attacking people, which is not what you're going to do on the job. So we're training up to a team to compete in this event, and we're going to be competing in other kinds of more normal capture the flags as they go by. And so that's kind of an advanced thing, sort of like a club, sort of like individual tutoring. It's sort of moving more towards a more less organized, project-based instruction. There's no textbook or anything. Yeah.
What would be a prerequisite for joining that?
123 for sure, and probably one or two of the advanced ones as well would be recommended. Yeah.
Is this going on right now this semester?
Yeah, for the first time on Saturday. Yeah.
Oh, Saturdays?
Yeah. So, and there's room in all these if people want to add. And like I say, we've done a lot of cyber competitions. This one we've done for several years. This is a student-created competition from New York University, and it's really very good. See, there are contests. A lot of CTF contests come from DEF CON. DEF CON was the first one, capture the flag competition, and it is impossible. You might as well just stand in the street and let a bus run over you. It is just hopeless. It will just make you want to give up and cry because they are so elite. That I remember one team had 25 people and they won for 7 years in a row. No one on earth could compete with them. And I remember once I went to the closing ceremonies, they said, we appreciate this team because people flew in this year from Korea and France and Japan. They flew in their best team, and we really appreciate them going easy on those guys on Saturday, so they felt like they had some hope, which of course they had no hope, because no one on earth can beat these guys. They can write like a brand new virus on the spot, infect you, and you don't even know what happened to you. So these, then he kind of split them up, and it's not as, anyway, it's ridiculously difficult. But there are a bunch that are not that difficult, and this is one of them. Seesaw is student written, and it's reasonable. The National Cyber League is another one that's just sort of a Jeopardy kind of thing, not even a CTF really. It's another thing you can do. And there's a lot of others we do. We have a hacking club here, CCSF Hackers. And by the way, another thing I often forget to mention is you can join CCSF Hackers here. That gets you to a Google group you can join. There's a thing called Computer Science Peer Advising. This is something, if you haven't noticed this already, there's a serious problem with this college, and for that matter, all colleges. We cannot fire people ever. This is basically a lifetime appointment. So about half the teachers give up after the first couple of years and do absolutely nothing for the next 30 years except wait for retirement. So we're like a restaurant where half the items on the menu are rotten. And we can't get rid of the bad teachers. And the only thing you can do to defend yourself is find out about them. So there's an online service, Rate My Professor, which you should read before you take classes. And you should also go to this session. This is where students tell other students what classes to take and what you really ought to take to get ready for them. So this is a good thing. Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, this is the Coders Club. So if you're into coding, there's a Coders Club that's quite active and very good. If you're into security, there's a Hacking Club that's really quite active and quite good. And I think they're going to have regular meetings on Wednesday, but they're still quite making up their mind about that. Anyway, you might want to check those out.
And they have free pizza.
What's that?
And they have free pizza.
Have free stuff?
Free pizza.
Oh, free pizza. Oh, that's good. Yeah, well, I don't know where they got that, but hey, I think but now 2 of them worked at Uber over the summer, so they're going to be. Oh, there's also a job fair coming up, so you might want to go to this if you're looking for a job. We should have quite a few people there. We should have affect at least 40 students, and at least 4 or 5 of these employers are coming, and probably some more. Anyway, so I wanted to remember those announcements. And let me get back to my slides and see if there's anything else we're mentioning here. Oh, the Pacific IT Pros is a very good users group oriented towards Microsoft system administration. It's worth going to, and it's worth extra credit if you do. You make a lot of connections there. You should be going out to some kind of social event in this business. Now that there's meetup.com, whatever part of this you do, there are people meeting to talk about it, and you should get out there, you should talk to people, you should maybe even give a talk yourself. That's how you make it in this business. Get it so people know about you, and now when they do something like have a startup, they say, oh, I met this guy, maybe we'll take this guy. You want them to know you. It's an important part of it, that's why I give extra credit for it. And there's Silicon Valley Code Camp. If you're a coder, I always talk at this one. This is something Dan Kaminsky said, a famous hacker. He said, we security people need to start going to the coding cons. And oh my God, was he right. The first time I went there, I just hacked their website, and I gave a whole talk on all the problems. They did everything wrong. It was ridiculous. I didn't even know that much at that time. And then I've had people argue with me about simple security things, saying, oh no, that's not worth doing. And I say, dude, would you like to see the last 10 people that got hacked for not doing that? I mean, it is awful, but it is the strange side of the world that if you take programming classes, they don't teach you about security, and those people are as babes in the woods in the world of security. Yeah.
Is that 2016 or?
Oh yeah, this is old. It's happening this year too, okay. But it's a different date. I have to update these. It's a good point. And then there's Bay Threat. I may not be coming back around for a while. And there's a lot of other hacking conventions. I went to all these last year. I taught this stuff in New York City and Las Vegas at these cons. If you want the latest, the next code camp is actually down here. Kashmir Hill, by the way, is coming to visit my Monday night class. You have extra credit if you want to come to that. She's one of the major cybersecurity journalists. And here's Code Camp, October 1 this year. So those are good. Anyway, so I think that's it for that stuff. And I've got a chapter to start here, which I think what I'll do is just take a break at this point so we can handle a few other issues. So let me stop this recording. That's the first thing. And the only way I know how to stop it is this. There's going to be 1, 2, 3 promo. That'll do. All right.